Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Life, Liberty, and Truth. Christian and Jared here.
Hey, what's up, everyone?
So we put out a little voting thing today for what our topic was going to be tonight, and the topic that won was Joe Biden and Hunter Biden and their dealings with Ukraine and Russia. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight. We put up two other topics, and we'll probably get to those in the next couple weeks. But we're going to go with this one first because this one is our winner. So, Jared, do you want to start with a little bit of a background to the entire situation, how it unfolded, and then I'll start to talk about what's happening now.
Yeah, all right. Well, so, I mean, if you're not super familiar with this whole Joe Biden and Hunter Biden thing going around, it's on the internet, it's on the news, it's everywhere. But if you're not completely sure about what's going on, basically, essentially, it's, well, first you have Joe Biden, right? Joe Biden was, in the Senate for 47 years, right? He was vice president. Just a little background there if you don't already know. But
2020 Democratic presidential
right,
nominee.
basically, he's the face of the Democrat Party right now. And
in his words, he is the Democratic Party.
Yeah, that is true. He did say that. But yeah, he's a very important person to the Democrat Party, especially since he's the Democratic candidate for the presidential election. But now there's some things that have come out that could really hurt his chances, or could expose him and basically his entire family for high levels of criminal activity.
Up to treason.
I mean, I would say that it probably is treason. You could definitely say that it's borderline treason.
Yeah, I think the short version here is basically Joe Biden and Hunter Biden have been doing sketchy things with other countries, even when Joe Biden was president.
Yeah, and there's just a lot of stuff going around with this specific topic, so we want to talk about it. But basically, yeah, that's Joe Biden, right? Just a little update background on him, what's going on. But now what's come out could really hurt, just him as a person. Right, like could really give him a bad name. It could give his family a bad name, the Democrat Party a bad name. There's a lot of connections in this. This is why this is such a huge deal, because it could bring down a lot of people, and even people you probably would never think of, right? Superpowers, basically, and that live on this planet. There's just, and it doesn't have to do with countries, it has to do with people. It's individuals living in different countries that are intertwined in this whole kind of connection here. But moving on from just kind of that area of how important it is or crucial it could be for Joe Biden, or I guess I should say critical, this has a lot to do with just money, right? Because Joe Biden is obviously very wealthy, and his son is extremely wealthy from a oil company, specifically in the Ukraine, Burisma, and Hunter Biden, who has no experience in this field of work, gets paid way over the amount that you should be paid for his kind of job.
He's a chairman, I believe, or he's on the board or something.
Yeah.
He basically got his job because of who his dad was.
Yeah. So, yeah, he uses dad as leverage, Biden, obviously, as leverage since his dad was vice president. He used him to basically get himself a job, right? But also get his family a lot of money at the same time. And this is what we're looking at here is, this is very, it's there's some stuff that goes into it later. We'll get deeper into that portion of what's going on with Burisma, but basically, Hunter Biden used his father as leverage to get a job that he was getting paid way more money than he should have. Like, super sketchy, especially since he has no experience in the field. I think even if he had experience in that kind of field of work, you wouldn't even be paid near as much that he was.
Well, and we're going to get into that. So I'm going to explain real quick what has kind of been brought to light that has made this story kind of hit mainstream more than it did last year, and really brought it to light and public attention. So basically what happened is that, if you don't know anything about Hunter Biden was dishonorably discharged from the military for being a drug addict. And one day, Hunter Biden has multiple laptops that he brings in to a local store to fix it.
It was like a repair shop.
Yeah, it was a repair shop to fix them. And the owner of the shop recognizes him when he gets close, and he immediately says he was under the influence of something, like strong influence, whether he was drunk or high, I don't know. But basically he was under the influence 100%. And so Hunter Biden brings in these laptops, drops them off with this guy to get fixed. And the policy of the store is, I believe, you have 120 days after you drop it off to come back and pick them up. If you do not come back within those 120 days, then it becomes
the owner's
property or private property. It changes ownership.
Is it 120 days or it's something like that?
It was around 3 months, so it might have been 90 days.
Okay. Yeah, 3 months.
Yeah, it was roughly
around 90 something days then.
Yeah, it was around there. Well, long story short, it comes
it passes,
2,
right?
3, 4, 5, 6 months, and this guy's like been trying to get a hold of him. He's been trying to get a hold of people that are close to him, and he cannot get a hold of him. Well, next thing you know, this story with Joe Biden starts coming out with this criminalizing stuff, Ukraine stuff, and this owner goes, oh crap, well, I don't want to be in trouble legally for having possession of this stuff, even though it's his, but he hasn't come back for it. So because the Hunter Biden hasn't come back to get his stuff within the time period, the owner gets into the laptop and basically finds everything. And what he found was so horrific that he turned it into the FBI, and now there's a big investigation going. Rudy Giuliani, former mayor of New York City, is the head person who is investigating this stuff right now. And he is actually in possession of one of the 3 laptops. If I remember right, one of the laptops he couldn't get to work. The second one I don't think really had anything, but this third one had an incredible amount of evidence and horrific things on it. So Rudy Giuliani's investigating this right now as we speak, and he's been on several other shows, mainstream shows, news networks. And basically what Rudy Giuliani is coming out and saying is that at the time that I was researching this stuff, he had only been through about 20% of the laptop and the contents, whether it was text messages, emails, videos, pictures, all that kind of stuff was on these laptops. And so they're going and doing a full investigation, and what the guy found when he turned it in, he said, I'm not a Republican or a Democrat, but I know right from wrong, and this is wrong. Well, what Rudy Giuliani shared is that what he found was horrific pornographic images, incriminating images, texts, that basically confirms everything that we've done with Ukraine. Trump, in the debate a couple weeks ago, brought up that Hunter had gotten, was it $3.5 million from the mayor of Moscow? Was that how much it was?
Yeah.
Rudy Giuliani says that he found that stuff. He found evidence of that. He's found text messages, emails, and he's also found sketchy things dealing with China. And from what he shared, and we'll get into this, we'll start with Ukraine. But basically, what he shared was that Joe Biden has used Hunter as a type of middleman. So Joe Biden is making these deals. They pay Hunter, and then Hunter gives it to his dad or provides it to his dad some way. That way, it's harder for people to directly link money, and it's harder to find this stuff. So we can start with Ukraine. You talked about it a little bit. Talk about the deal with Ukraine.
Well, yeah, I kind of talked about it, grazed over it earlier, but a lot of it has to do with Hunter Biden's job at Burisma, and obviously that's really sketchy because, I mean, it's obviously not sketchy to get a job, but like when you get a job using your father as leverage to get it, and you're getting, a ton of money, like a gross amount of money for being in the position that you are in, it's very sketchy, the entire thing. And I remember just months ago when some of these things were still kind of going on, because this has been talked about for actually a while now. It's been almost a year since all this Ukraine and all this collusion with all these other countries, right? At first it was just kind of the Ukraine. Now it's, you follow the money trail, and eventually you just eventually connect the dots here. And you don't have to be a genius to understand, like, even if you don't even know that much about it, like just the simple evidence that's already there is, astounding that people don't even question anymore. Like, why are people not questioning these things? Why has Hunter Biden just been, let off the hook?
Turning a blind eye to it.
It's the worst possible thing you can do in this situation. And you know exactly why they won't push this is because Joe Biden is the presidential candidate. Come on. That's plain and simple.
He's their only hope right now of getting Trump
and that's it. Yeah, and the Democrats can't have that. They can't have these slip-ups.
Well, this is exactly the kind of stuff that they tried impeaching Trump for.
Right, yeah. And they kind of framed Trump with the Ukraine stuff.
Well,
they didn't frame him. They tried to frame him. He never did anything wrong, right? He was actually looking into an investigation that was brought up to him, and he wanted to look into it, right? Because as the president, you have that right to do that.
Yeah, Giuliani actually brought that up, and some of the stuff that I've been listening to and researching is that one of the reasons that Giuliani was fighting so hard for Trump at the time of impeachment and election, and when all this like Russian collusion, Ukraine stuff was coming out, was that Rudy Giuliani was there and he knew everything that was happening basically with Trump. He said, I was with him almost 24/7 working on this election stuff, working on this Russia stuff with him, trying to figure out like what is happening. And he said, I know for a fact Trump didn't do any of this stuff because I was there. And so just going into that, talk about that. You were telling me before when we were talking about all this, there was a cop that was looking into this Biden stuff in Ukraine and he got fired. Tell me about that. I haven't heard about that.
Yeah, so I wish I remembered his name, the guy's name. I'm terrible at remembering. Like, I know it, but I can't remember it for some reason right now. But basically, there was an investigator, right, that was looking into Hunter Biden and all this money. And there was some other things that he was looking at, too. It wasn't just the money, but he was investigating Hunter Biden, right? Well, basically, Joe Biden then was like, okay, you're going to fire the investigator or you're not getting money, right? Because they were getting aid or something like that, right, from the United States. They were getting like $1 billion in aid to Ukraine. And what basically was happening is that's literally a quid pro quo. Like, Well, it's not. It's more blackmail, honestly. It's not that. There was quid pro quo later, I think, but this right here was blackmail. They were like, all right, you're giving, you're either gonna fire the prosecutor, right, and if you don't, you're not getting the $1 billion. And Joe Biden admitted to that on camera, in front of everyone, and yet everyone still turns a blind eye. It's amazing. It blows my mind that literally these people can say whatever the heck you want, especially Joe Biden. You ain't black. Black kids are just as smart as white kids or whatever, right? There's all these dumb things and these, I don't know, gaffes that Joe Biden has, but no one even pays attention to it.
Or questions it. Even if it's something sketchy, you might be like, oh, well, maybe we should look into this. It's not even that. It's just a blind defense of, oh, he did nothing wrong. It's 100% a double standard, because as soon as Trump says something or something comes out of Trump, automatically believe it. Oh, Trump did this. He's an evil person. Impeach him. Send him to jail. That's so. But as soon as something comes out of Joe Biden, it's automatically either ignored or just people say he didn't do it. I mean, I think a good example of that was when Kamala Harris called him, accused him of all the sexual stuff with that person in his campaign that came out and said that she was sexually assaulted by him. Kamala Harris came out and went after him, and now that she's his vice president, she won't talk about it. It's like, okay, well, where's your hypocrisy? Because you, at one point, you're saying, "Me too, believe all women," but then as soon as he becomes the presidential nominee and you're on his side, then you're like, oh, well, he didn't really do that. It was just a debate. Whether you believe it or you don't be a hypocrite about it, And I think we should move into Russia. Trump brought that up with Hunter Biden getting that $3.5 million from the mayor of Moscow. Jared, do you want to explain any of that stuff? Collusion with Trump, how that's all related to this?
Yeah. It's actually kind of funny because when these people do these things, they try to pin it on Trump, and I don't know, everyone just goes crazy. Like with this Ukraine stuff, they tried to pin it on Trump. With Russian collusion, they tried to pin it on Trump again, but guess what? It was Hillary Clinton that was involved.
Well, some of the stuff that came out with all these Giuliani interviews is that he said, based on the evidence that he found on these laptops, everything that they have accused Trump of dealing and doing with Russia, especially, but also Ukraine, literally everything that they've accused Trump of is what Biden did. And so basically they're recycling their playbooks, People tend to get most offended or most angry about things that people do, because that's what they do themselves, is they don't like looking at a reflection of what they're doing. So,
well, it's easy to pin it on other people.
Well, it's easy.
You can always blame people on it.
It's that, but then it's also they blame people. It's hypocrisy ultimately. But what they also do is that they turn around and they say, "Oh, well, so and so's doing it too." Then, oh, it's not that bad, or they change it. Like, that's the first thing that comes to their mind, because that's what they're doing. And I think it's the same case here. Is like they're using this Russia scandal that Joe Biden already is aware of and all these details, and it doesn't look as bad on him when they flip it, and that's what they're doing here, 100%. They're recycling what has already been done.
Mm-hmm.
And so Giuliani pointed that out because he's been the lead investigator on this laptop case. He's been with Trump and when all this stuff was going down. And so he's definitely the best person to be able to talk about this. And he straight said, everything that Joe Biden did is what they're accusing Trump of.
Yeah, I don't know. The entire thing is very sketchy and it's off. A lot of it doesn't make any sense, especially when they've tried to pin on Trump. Just things never connected. It didn't make any sense. They made up a story. I mean,
but they didn't make up a story.
Well, no. they didn't. They made up a story regarding Trump, though.
They changed the story
Right.
and put Trump in instead of Biden.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. I find it very, it's evil. I'll just be straight up with you. It is evil. This kind of these acts that are being done, just in the past few years, with these high profile people. But anyway, going to this Russia collusion a little bit, or at least regarding with Hunter Biden. He basically got paid $3.5 million from the mayor of Moscow, right? For unknown reasons. Well, I'm sure the reasons are known now, since the laptops have been recovered, but
not publicly known.
They're not publicly known. But yeah, they're just, I don't know, why are you getting $3.5 million from someone? I don't know. It doesn't. Some things just don't add up, and it seems very weird, right? Yeah. I mean, that should be a red flag. It's one thing if you get money, but there's some kind of contract or things like that. But there's no contract.
Well, do you remember?
And it's
any of the stuff, whether it was impeachment or during the election, that they were blaming Trump for, besides just voter fraud with Russia?
That's all they had on Trump. The entire, even before the election, they're like, he's gonna collude with Russia, and he's gonna change the votes in the polls, right? And now it's literally been the same thing since he's been president for 3.5 years now. It's the same thing, even though it's been debunked. This entire Russia collusion, it's been proven that nothing ever happened with Trump or Russia to alter the results of 2016. Nothing. There's nothing. But people still want to bring it up, and it makes no sense. And so now they're still talking about it. But except now you have the actual people that were involved. Hillary Clinton was actually involved with Russia collusion,
I believe,
to alter the votes in 2016.
Actually, not to change the subject off of Joe Biden, but she's actually has been in court for a good amount of time right now, talking about all the scandals and actual collusion and really sketchy things that her campaign has done. She's in court for all of that right now.
Bet y'all didn't know about that.
Yeah, that's not hitting the news or anything.
Yeah, she's been in court for months now.
Yeah.
Basically testifying and doing testifying or no?
I don't remember exactly what's happening, but there's this organization.
They're questioning, right?
There's this organization called Judicial Watch. If you guys don't know what that is, Trump actually just appointed the head guy. I forget his name. He appointed him to, I don't remember the position either, but he just got appointed. And so basically what this organization does is they go in and they basically root out any deep state issues or any cases, anything that's not constitutional or it's sketchy. And this organization goes in and they sue on behalf of the person or on behalf of the person, organization, whatever it is. So like Hillary Clinton right now is they're getting her for all of the sketchy stuff that happened in 2016. But this organization's really cool. You guys should check them out on Instagram. They have all these updates and stuff on what they're doing, who they're going after next, whether it's big tech, corrupt politics, or even just corrupt laws, all that kind of stuff. But they are the ones that are really heading right now this lawsuit on Hillary Clinton. That's actually a really big deal. And some of the stuff that they have come out to find is it's really bad. It's Joe Biden level bad right now. And it's not hitting the press, not hitting mainstream media. So I encourage you guys to check that out. But Jared, we also know that there's evidence of both of the Bidens colluding with China also. In these Giuliani investigations and these emails and everything that are on these laptops, it's basically brought in a bunch of evidence that Biden and several other, I don't remember if they're politicians' children or there's like a nephew of somebody. I didn't recognize any of the names, but they're important people. But that have basically done the same thing they did in Ukraine, and now these guys are kind of partnering with Chinese. I believe he talked about them getting together and allowing China to buy a lot of U.S. land, or whether it was land or companies, and basically that China's also involved in this. Do you have anything that to kind of add to that at all?
I personally don't know like every single detail of what's going on with China, right? But I know there's definitely some everything here is sketchy, but there's definitely some sketchy stuff. It obviously has to do with money with China. Has to do with the Bidens getting richer, right? It's just there's a lot of stuff going on, and to be quite frank, it's all quite confusing too, as you can tell. Like we're not scrambled, we know what we're talking about, but like it's just a lot of information to take in.
Well, not just information to take in, but difference of opinions, finding what's true, what's false, trying to find accurate things, because the news media and social media and Twitter and all this stuff, they're not covering it. They're censoring it. They're just letting it pass by like nothing's happening.
Well, no, they're briefly talking about it, but they're not. Yeah, they're not. They're not going into depth, and that's the thing here is why we're probably not saying as much as we could, is because we don't want to give out false information. We don't want to, at least on purpose. Like we may say something, right? But we're not going to purposely say something that we know isn't right.
Yeah, our point with this episode was to bring out things that you might not have known, so that you can go study them on your own. The stuff that we're referencing right now with the Giuliani stuff, you can go listen to that. Giuliani was on the Charlie Kirk show. He was on Louder with Crowder. And if you want to listen to the best facts, go listen to one of those, because Giuliani himself is on there. Obviously we're not going to get Rudy Giuliani on this podcast.
Right.
The best way to learn is to listen to him talk. I'm sure there's several interviews online that you can go listen to. But right now, we're just telling you and kind of regurgitating what we know, so that you can be like, oh, well, maybe there's kind of like some sketchy stuff going on. Maybe I'd like to learn more about this. Maybe, I don't like that. I'm going to look into that. That's kind of our point right now.
Yeah, we kind of just want to really inform you on all these things going on. So if it sounds like we don't have a ton of like evidence or facts right now, it's not that we don't, but we just, there's a lot to break down, and we could be here for a really, really long time. So we want to be broad but somewhat direct at the same time.
Well, and there really isn't a lot of evidence and facts right now. There's just people's word, and the evidence is all in that computer, but that's not public knowledge yet. But we have the main person who's investigating this telling us the stuff of what he's found. That's our fact. It's not hard evidence, it's not proof, but it's the best thing we have, and that's what we're trying to regurgitate and explain.
Yeah, so as I was kind of saying with China, it's just like with everything else, it had to do with money, like a lot of money. I don't know the official number of, or at least the claim of how much money was going on between Hunter Biden, Joe Biden, and Chinese officials. I don't. But I know it was a lot, just like with Burisma and the Ukraine, and also there's stuff with Russia. It's a lot, people. There's a lot to break down, and just kind of really be direct on certain points, because there's just, you can keep going and going for a long time.
Well, and here's what we do know. We know that Joe Biden is exploiting his positions to increase his and his family's wealth and selling out America in the process. That is what we know. That's a fact.
Yeah.
We know that it's happening. We don't necessarily know all the details of how it's happening, but we have plenty of evidence that shows that it is happening and it has happened.
Yeah, it's quite scary that you have people in these in these positions, these high profile individuals that are literally selling out America for their own gain. It's just, that's what Joe Biden is doing. Do you want that as your president? He's literally selling out
And what's
America.
even worse is that people have been electing him over and over and over again, even though he's doing all this stuff.
Yeah, well, I mean, they didn't have really anything to go up against him with, right? It's not, no one just, again, with the same thing, no one questioned it. That's the thing that we're getting at here is you should question these things. Like, even if the news is telling you, or even if, I don't know, even if Rudy Giuliani is telling you these facts, you need to still have that mindset of, okay, let me think about it, digest it, because you don't know 100%. Even if he knows, you never know, right? You want to be for sure about certain things, right? You don't want to just take everyone's word for it and just go at that. That's why you have to be careful when you're on social media, because, well, people, they'll post stuff when new things come out, right? And then eventually it's not true, right? Well, you've misinformed millions of people on social media.
And some of those people are not intelligent enough to, or too ignorant.
Intelligent.
Well, some people just...
They don't have that comprehension.
Whether it's not intelligent enough, whether you're ignorant, or whether you just don't do enough research, which is almost is ignorant in itself, but people don't realize that they're false, whether because they don't want to know, they're incapable of knowing, or they don't realize it until later, then they won't change their ways. Because, well, I saw this. Well, just because your favorite news outlet says one thing doesn't mean it's always true, you know? Like, news isn't 100% facts all the time. New evidence comes out, new stories come out, news reports what's happening in the now, but later there could be something else. And I think that's what we're trying to get at, is to question everything. Question everything and do your own research. Find out things for yourself. Don't even take our word for it, but go and do your research. Go look at both perspectives. Go see what each side is saying. Generally, the truth is somewhere in the middle. Neither right nor left. It's somewhere that lies slightly in the middle. And the further left you tend to go in news, the more right it's going to seem, but it's really still in the middle.
Yeah, it's, I don't know. There's just a lot of stuff going on, and you got to be careful. Social media is just a big thing going on, and it's not just with this Joe Biden, Hunter Biden scandal thing that's going on. There's plenty of other things that are going on. But, I mean, going back, I guarantee you a ton of you people didn't even know Hillary Clinton was in court right now.
Yeah, exactly.
And, like, she's been in court talking about, like, Russia collusion and these kinds of things, right?
I think it was even before summer. It's been a good amount of time.
It's been a while. I think it's been since
it's been
late.
It's been long that people should know that she's in court.
Yeah, it's like July or August since this has been going on. But seriously, the news doesn't want to cover it, and that's what we're getting at, is the news. The place you go to learn and know what's going on politically aren't actually telling you everything you need to know. Now, they may not tell you everything just for, you know, safety reasons, I guess.
Legal reasons.
Right, yeah, they can't tell you absolutely everything. But generally, they're supposed to give you the general information of what's going on. They haven't said a peep about Hillary in court. And so that's a big issue for me, is you should be able to cover these different stories and not just talk about COVID or Trump and his rallies that people don't agree with, right? Or, I don't know, protests and all these things.
All kinds of stuff.
It's a distraction to keep you from the truth, because a lot of these people don't want you to know the truth. And then a lot of people, they'll see the truth, but they'll turn a blind eye to it. They just don't care.
Ignorance is bliss.
Exactly. And if you're going to live life like that, I mean, you're just a sheep.
Yeah.
You really are just a sheep, and you're probably wearing a mask because you're afraid of dying from COVID. Just got to be straight up. You gotta be straight up. You know, I didn't want to trail off too much, but that's kind of what we're talking about here. Is you want to be careful with these different kinds of information, but also be able to digest and comprehend what's going on accurately too. And if you don't know 100% what's going on, like we've said, do your research, try to decipher what's right and wrong, go to multiple sources. Even if you don't really necessarily care, it's still good to be informed of what's going on. You don't have to go super deep.
Yeah, not to mention reading is healthy for your brain. So.
Well, yeah, thank you, Christian.
Yeah, but like we said, there's way more in-depth things you can find that when we talked about. We're just trying to bring awareness to the whole situation.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we said some stuff that might catch your eye and encourage you to do your own research. But if we're going to leave you with one thing, I think we should leave you with question everything.
Right. And real quick, one last thing before we go. We have one of the other topics, right? It's, well, at least that I wanted to talk about. You know, with all this Joe Biden stuff and his family and the news and all that, you know, it's really, it can really cloud your judgment, right? There's a lot of things it can leave you in doubt. I remember when, back when they were trying to impeach Trump, they were going through all these hearings and all this stuff. And even though I knew what the truth was, I still felt doubt. I was like, really? Like, are they made it seem so true. Like it was the biggest, you know, lie in the world that Trump was the worst person, you know, ever. And, you know, committed treason against America. And I had that, you know, slight, you know, I had that sliver of doubt. And that's what you have to be careful, right? Is, you know, people are going to manipulate how you think in these, especially in these times with, I mean, you can see it with COVID, kind of one manipulating numbers, but also making it seem worse than it already is. And so, or than what it really is. But yeah, I think the big thing here with Joe Biden and Hunter Biden is you got to be careful of what you bring into your mind, and you know, just be wise, and I guess eventually the truth will prevail eventually.
Don't be partisan about how you do your research. The best way to learn is to find, study, and think about views from the other side, whether it's from the news or just people's opinions. That's the best way you can learn. With that said, we're going to close it up. A little bit of a shorter episode tonight. We hope you guys learned something. We hope you enjoyed. We hope you go and you do your research and you find out for yourself.
Maybe we'll do an update if there's a lot more evidence that comes out. Maybe we'll do another one.
Yeah.
For this stuff.
Come to your own conclusions. Be free thinkers. That's the greatest encouragement that we could have to you, besides accepting Lord Jesus Christ as your Savior.
Right. Yeah.
But that's the greatest way we can encourage you, is to go and think for yourself and find things out on your own, and don't believe what people tell you. Not only is it healthier for you, but it's also just, it helps you to learn so much more, helps you to see other people's views, it helps you to understand where people are coming from, give you more compassion and tolerance, you know? And so, with that said, we hope you guys enjoyed. Like, follow, subscribe, follow us on Instagram. We also have Twitter. If you guys have any recommendations for new episodes, hit us up. Let us know. We love to hear. You guys can listen to this episode wherever you get your local podcasts. We'll post it on YouTube. It'll be just about everywhere you can think of where you could get this. So we hope you enjoyed. If you guys would consider financially helping us out, we said it before. It's your guys' donations that help us to get the better equipment. It's you guys are the reason that we do this. We hope that we've been able to change your life in some way, help you to think about things, help you to understand the world a little bit better and from a different perspective. So, Jared, do you have any final thoughts?
Nope, that's about it, man. I think this was good, informative, podcast here.
Yep. Didn't fry anybody's brains too much with
Numbers and stuff like that.
and how we finished it. So think about it, study, think for yourself, question everything. We'll see you guys later.
All right, see ya.